Hey, welcome back to the channel here. Hey, this morning it's Saturday morning here in France. It's a bit of a gray day, so we're going to do some tanks before I have to go in and do some housework. But what I'm going to start off with is finishing up step 4 in the instructions. And step 4 is the upper hull. This is where we join the two pieces to the upper, and we put some of the interior bits in before we close it up. So not a lot of steps, but we'll get it done. What I've done is I've cleaned up the parts already, so the parts are clean and ready for assembly. I don't know if anybody really digs watching someone on YouTube clean up parts. I certainly don't. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and start with the rear part of the the rear part of the upper. We're going to start with step 35. For me, it's always part 35. For me, it's always a bit confusing when the instructions show the. Oh, I missed a bit. When the instructions show the piece upside down, my spatial orientation isn't that great, so it's a bit confusing for me. So we'll see if we can get this guy fit in, and we'll see what we can do here. I'm trying a new camera method where I actually just kind of work around. Let's see, that doesn't look right. Or maybe it is. Just doesn't seem to be fitting in there right. Maybe I got it upside down. So we'll put this guy in. And there he goes. And I think, did I get him right? Let me see here. Checking with the instructions. I have no idea. But let me check again. I don't think I did. So let's see what it looks like here. All right, there we go. We got a little bit of bingo on that. So that's good. So he's in there, and that's what that looks like. And the grill will rest on top of that. So I'll go ahead and do the other side, just so I can keep track of the parts. And again, I missed a bit cleaning that. Let me get that cleaned off. So we got that cleaned off. And I think he fits in the same now that I understand how that goes in. I think this should be easier. And you heard him click in there. So a little bingo on that. So I've got both those parts in. So I'm going to come up with my glue. Just run a bit of glue across the top. I'm sorry if you can't see that. I'm just trying to get used to the camera angles. And across the bottom. Let me see. There we go. Run some down there just to get him anchored. And we'll get him anchored there. So we got that bit. The next piece we're going to put in is the rest of the engine grill. The engine grill is two pieces, so you can get some good detail there. It looks like it's a multi-blade grill system. So we'll put that in there, and that just pops in. I dry fit that before, and it fits in really well. See, it was kind of hard to get out. So we'll put a bit of glue on that. And we'll get him stuck in there. Just give him a press, make sure that he's okay. And we'll see what he looks like from the top. Yeah, so that looks good. I think Tamiya does it a little bit different. Dragon does it a little bit different, but generally it's the same idea. It's usually two pieces, and they fit right in there. So we'll put him off to the side, and we'll see what else we've got going. We've got a piece C17. You don't get the option of having the visor open, although I imagine if you wanted the visor open for the driver, you could. One thing you need to watch out for, there is a beveled edge. If I can get this in camera, let me see here. There he is. There is a beveled edge on that you need to make sure matches with the beveled edge down there. So we'll slide this guy in there, and that's a good fit. And we will Just did this. I did a Dragon IS85 and with the same hull configuration, and the fit wasn't that great. Hopefully that'll be a bit better. The next part we're going to put the machine gun in. Now this really, the number of crews on a tank really started out from 2 to 3 at the beginning of the war. They settled on 5. The Russians had 4 for a while, and when they went to the T-34-85, they ended up with a 3-man turret crew and a co-driver and driver, and settled on a 5-man crew. The IS went back to a 4-man crew. Normally, the guy next to the driver, he was there for the radio and the machine gun. But what the Russians did was they just put a forward-firing machine gun in. And that's what this piece is. Now, let's see if we can get him to pop in. It's a forward-firing machine gun. And it came out just to the right of the driver. It was driver-operated. And we'll see if we can get this guy. See if we can get this guy in here. See if he'll cooperate. I think I may have to trim him down a little bit more. I didn't get all the sanding that I should have, so we'll give this guy a bit of a sand. Get him to fit, and as the British say, Bob's your uncle. So we'll see if we can you don't want to see my big fat fingers in there. So we'll just get him there and see if we can pop him in there. Use a little bit of brute force and ignorance. And hopefully we won't launch him across the mudroom here in the back of the house. There he goes. There he goes. He's in there. He's in there. So that's the machine gun, and he'll stick out. He'll stick out like that. And what I'll do is I'm going to retexture this surface, make it a bit more rough. Because the Russian castings were pretty rough. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna glue him in there. All right, and let's see what else. I think we've got all the steps completed. So now what it's gonna call for is to mate the aft and the forward of the hull. So what we'll do is I'm going to hold on here, and I had a lot of dry fitting last night on this, and it seemed to work out really well. One thing I'm going to do, I think I'm going to skip forward in the instructions, and what I want to do is I want to add the sponson covers, because that'll add rigidity. I don't know if that's a word or not, but we'll go with that. Rigidity to this. It'll also let me, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip off a lot of these fenders. So what the fenders what it'll let me do is allow this to be good and tight, and it'll really help me rip and strip the fenders because they'll be anchored to something. Now there's a couple slots here. This little slot is gonna mate to a slot on the rear hull. There's a locating pin, and as you can hear, it just clicks in. If you're a modeler, you just love to hear the sound of parts clicking together. So we'll just glue that guy. We'll get him started. And we'll pop him in there. And we'll glue him down. And that'll give us a start. So, and then we'll see what happens there. And what I'm going to do before I mate these two pieces, I'm going to weather. I'm going to rip the fenders off, of course. Then I'm going to paint whatever left, and then I'm going to weather that. And that way, when I mate the hull, I don't have to worry about getting back in there. So what we'll do is we'll grab the other piece, and it's the same theory. And I cleaned these up earlier. And we will. Where are we at here? We will put this guy on. He pops in there. Everything is easier in rehearsal. Let's see. So we got him popped in. We got him popped in there. That's what we like to see. Get a bit of glue on that. Get a bit of glue on that, and that should be fine. Just press down. There we go. There we go. That's it. It all starts to melt together, and we'll put a bit of right on this guy here, and we'll get him going. So we got those two guys together. Just for added strength, what I'm going to do is I am going to run. Let's see what happened there. He's not popping. He should be popping. What am I doing? Okay, I think I got him. So he's in there. What I'm going to do is I'm just for added strength, I'm going to run some glue along the sides here just to make sure this is locked down. And we'll get that. And a lot of these fenders are going to get tore off. Oddly enough, on the American tanks, the fenders really didn't seem to get ripped off. But boy, the Russians, that stuff was always tore off. I don't know if it was the design or Americans just had better fenders. But normally, the fenders on American tanks, I guess they weren't as elaborate, but the ones that were there, they seemed to stay there the entire time. So, God bless American fenders. Okay, so now just show you we are making progress. We spent a lot of time on the tracks. We're going to pop this guy on here and make sure he lines up, and there are locating pins on the lower hole for the upper hole, or locating slots, and they pop in. And you can see this is why I left all the this is why I left a lot of the tracks and the tow hooks off, because I'm going to blend these two together when we're ready to paint. So that'll all get blended up. But I think for the most part, we are making progress, and it's looking good. Thanks for spending a Saturday morning with me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. And Steve out. Please like and subscribe. And share if you can. Thank you. Bye.